Snowflake, my friend.
If you were like me last generation, you did not play the Dead Rising games, but luckily Capcom's got you covered with the 3 games that came out last generation in the form of Dead Rising 1, Dead Rising 2, and Dead Rising 2 Off the Record. All 3 of these games could be purchased for $20 each, or you can get it digitally and triple pack for $60. Since this is my first time with the series of the game in general, I will not be comparing both games of what they did last generation, this one, blah blah blah. But I would say if you want a good comparison of the graphics and frame rate, you can always check out other comparison videos and some from Digital Foundry and whatnot. Okay. Now, what's the deal with Dead Rising 2? Well, in Dead Rising 2 you play as the main character Chuck, and he's a motocross biker type of guy. And, you know, his wife's dead, of course. Someone has to die. And his daughter so happens to have this infection that is due to, you know, the virus and whatnot. So, in order for, well, I believe it's like a bite, but she's like, just like a cut and a scar, whatever the hell it is. But anyway, she has the infection and whatnot. So, to maintain this infection before, you know, of course, there can eventually be a cure, you have to get a whole bunch of Zombrex. Now, moving on to the gameplay. Gameplay is actually pretty fun. It has you going through a number of different weapons that you can pick up and use until they eventually break, or you can just throw them at an enemy, and you know, depending on what it is, it'll break from there. You also learn different moves, like you can jump in the air and kick. You can do a front kick. You can stomp on them and whatnot, and of course the whole thing is you're killing zombies, but you can also kill a couple occasional like humans, like, you know, psychopaths, and you know, people trying to you know, rob loot stores and whatnot. And then there's also things such as, you know, grabbing other clothing and whatnot. As you can see here, this isn't the whole selection, though I'm not entirely sure exactly how you get every single piece of clothing that you're able to, because there are things that you, such clothing you can pick up and take things, but it's, you won't have that stored with you anymore. Say example, I took this hat, but then I switched the hat for a football helmet. I'm gonna keep the football helmet, and the hat is no longer with me, unless it was already in the locker, presumably. So that's pretty much how that kind of thing works, which is kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. And also you can combine 2 weapons, or 2, you know, the 2 type of weapons into one pretty cool weapon, if it's cool to you.
Oh, this just gets better and better.
Now, I briefly mentioned the story, and I didn't want to give a whole bunch of details into it, but there's multiple ways on how the story can unfold due to different endings. I got one ending that I was satisfied with, but I am going through the game again to try to get the other endings. So, of course, it depends on certain choices, not really choices, but certain things you decide to do and whatnot. Speaking of things you can do, you do have a set time limit when it comes down to these missions, if you will. They're basically like objective missions, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so you have those things going on, and you can do those things within the amount of time. So basically, pretty much almost everything is time-based. You have a certain amount of time, because within 3 days, the military or rescue is supposed to come and, you know, rescue you along with the other people, and the people in which all this stuff is taking place is in the fictional world of Fortune City. So you have a lot of malls, you have casinos, you have plazas and whatnot, so it's pretty cool. You also have like underground areas and whatnot, but in all honesty, you do explore pretty much all the environments like more than once. So if you've been to one place, you've pretty much seen it all at the end of your playthrough, depending on what type of ending you end up possibly getting. So that's the gist of that. But all in all, I thought the environments and the pacing and the gameplay and all that stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. It was fun. It was nice, and that's pretty much the whole theme of it. It was fun. It was a fun game. It didn't overstay its welcome, and it was pretty good. So, at least that was a good part about it. And I was actually kind of surprised at how interesting the story was for me. Well, interested I was in the story. So. Now, since I didn't really cover this yet, let me get on to the, like, you know, the sound, the voice, the graphics, and all that good stuff, music and whatnot. The music was pretty good, though I was kind of hoping for more of, like, a ambient, kind of like, more like a horror type of the sound going on, but it's not necessarily trying to be like that, even though it is, you can say it is considered survival horror in a way, or horror, but you know, it is like a kind of like a sandboxy kind of hack slash type of game, so it's cool. But yeah, the sound effects were cool. It was good for what it was. Music was good, you know, it fit what it was going for. The voice acting was good. Graphically, I did see a comparison video from Digital Foundry, and you can see a lot of noticeable changes to things. Though, to be honest, not everything has really gotten the best, the most attention to it, opposed to say other things. Like certain things does seem like it wasn't given as much care and attention, and you know, it is what it is. So, I mean, what more do you want? I mean, I guess there's only so much they can really do with a 2010, you know, game and whatnot. Now, if I can bring up a few negatives real quick, one of the things would be some of the boss fights weren't that great and kind of had the same type of feel to it, and some difficulty spikes along with the boss fights and whatnot. Just make sure, you know, you do what you need to do so that way Chuck can level up and, you know, increase his health and his all that stuff. Though I don't, you cannot adjust the stats or anything like that. It just lets you know how your stats are at the moment. So it pretty much just levels up certain things on its own. So, which is, you know, whatever. Oh yeah, and then there's also some pop-up textures, and it's kind of like weird. And it's this thing. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, yeah. I don't think this was supposed to happen, but yeah, I kind of had to skip this cutscene, unfortunately. But all in all, the game was really good. It was a pleasant surprise, and it was definitely a steal for $20. New, but if you want to get it used, you can probably find it for like $15, something like that. Obviously less than 20, but yeah. As far as like the Xbox One version goes, I know on the 360 version last generation there was some exclusive content that was available, so I don't know if that's the case with this one, with this remaster type of thing. So if that is included on there, you might want to get the Xbox One version because it might have that extra content if you care about it. As far as like frame rate and resolution and how steady things are and how good things are, as far as the visuals and performance goes, you would have to see comparison videos for the Xbox One and PS4 and whatnot to kind of get an idea of it. But like I said, Dead Rising 2 was a good game. I really enjoyed it. It was actually a great game in my opinion, but hey, it might be different for you. I would recommend getting it on either version. Just, you know, do your research, see which one that does more for you, I guess. But that was my review, and thank you for watching, and until next time.